Hey guys, this is Tony with Inner Geek Designs. Today I'm back with another Inner Geek podcast. Today I want to talk about why you should start with pen and paper and what's the benefits of starting with pen and paper. And why you should not always just start a project, jump into the computer, use all the fancy tools you have, and create logos, your graphics, your web design, and all that stuff. Starting off like all the other podcasts, I want to talk to you guys about what I'm doing as a freelance designer, as an in-house designer, to see if it helps you, to see if you can learn something about what I'm doing. And let's just start. So as a freelance designer, I got a website out for review. We'll see how that goes. Just waiting to hear back from the client. Took a little bit longer than expected. If something takes longer than expected as a designer, you should always be upfront with the client and say, hey, I am currently having some issues. I'm working on it. And here's when I expect to be done. If you miss that deadline, just do another update. Always keep your clients updated. I also got another repeat client. Came back to me looking for a brochure, some flyers, some in-person materials. Just kind of stuff they can hand out when they're talking to people. This is where print design kind of gets a little wonky. Some people still want that, some don't. It just depends on their selling style. And that's what I tell people. Sell how you want to sell. I will design something to help you with that. So redesign their brochure, redesigning their flyers. They also need a video to play before they have a presentation going on. So they have like a big conference they go to and they have a speech there. We're working on something for that. As a designer, you should learn as many tools as you can and get good enough at them so where someone asks you, can you do this? You say yes and you feel confident about it. Or you do what I do that I've been doing since I was starting off as a designer, saying yes and then figuring out how to do it later, which has been working for me now. I mean, I've pretty much run into everything that I've said yes to and learned and gotten good enough to get by with it. I haven't mastered it. You can't master everything. It's kind of hard to master everything, so get just good enough at a couple of things and you'll be a more round designer. Been starting to client hunt again since I got a little bit more free time now. Had some people reach out. It kind of turned into a dead lead. It happens. It's life. You kind of have to move on with it. You can reach out as many times as you feel like you need to, but don't feel desperate. Just reach out. If they don't respond, move on. There'll always be another client. So let's talk about today's topic. Why should you as a designer start with pen and paper? Well, it's one of those things that they tell you in school. You kind of write it off as blah, blah, blah. They don't know what they're talking about, but they do. When you start with pen and paper, you restrain yourself. You restrict yourself in a way that you never thought you would need to restrict yourself. So say when you're working in, I don't know, Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop or InDesign or any of the programs that you use to design your work, you have so many tools at your disposal that when you're starting off, that's a hindrance to you. You're actually hurting yourself because instead of thinking about the design, thinking about the client's needs, thinking about what ideas you want to try and play around with, you are then thinking about what tools can I use to make the prettiest graphic. At the end of the day, that is what your clients are paying you for, but you need to balance that out with making sure that you are getting the best work that you can give to your client. The whole idea of thumbnailing is not to just find the good ideas. It is to get all your bad ideas out so then you can move on to the good ideas and refine them. That's why there's a saying of do 100 of something and you'll get one good option. I've done a bunch of thumbnails throughout my career and it's helped me a lot. I've kind of explored some ideas. I've learned that there's some dead ideas that don't work. And then I've worked on some ideas that those ideas weren't going to be good and they turn out to be the best ones. So this is where exploring comes in handy. Figuring out what you really want to do in your design work for your client. And then once you get a good couple ideas good, then you can step into the computer world. Then you can start refining those ideas and start playing with them with the tools on there. Instead of having this over-encompassing ideas, like you have 20,000 ideas and now you're trying to play with them on the computer. Now you're just burning time because you're trying to make them perfect. Instead of scribbling them out on a piece of paper, making them look like crap just to get the idea out of your head to see if maybe it will work or not, and then taking it to the computer and doing the next step. This is an issue with designers. I think maybe it's a generational thing that we just don't think that pen and paper still have use when we have computers, especially with Wacom tablets and pen displays, but they do. Every year I get one new notebook and it lasts me an entire year. It's filled with notes, it's filled with sketches, it's filled with thumbnails, a bunch of other things. And this just doesn't go to graphic design. This also goes across with web design. So say you're doing web design, you have to figure out a layout of a website. Do a wireframe on pen and paper. Wireframe it out, figure out how the whole layout's going to work, where pages are going to go. Plan that all out prior, and you will be quicker once you get on the computer. I think people think that if you have to pull pen and paper out, it's going to slow you down. No, it's going to give you more time when you're working on the computer. You don't need to go to the extent that it used to be when there was no computers. You pull out your pen and paper, you do your thumbnails, then you pull out a bigger sheet and you do bigger comps, and then you pull out your wax paper and you start doing fancy ones. No, you don't need to go to that level. You just need to start working on ideas, get them out. Get all the bad ones out. That's the hardest thing as any designer, is to get all the bad ideas out and say, these are bad ideas. These are good ideas, but I think I can push them even further. That's when you go to the computer, when you think you can push the idea further that you finally have. And never jump on the first idea you have. That's the worst idea any designer can do. You jump on the first idea you have, it's the best idea, it's going to be the greatest one. Those are the ones that always get shot down from clients. Why? Because it was personally attached to you, not what your clients' needs were or your clients' customers. You weren't thinking about them. You were thinking about, this will look good in my portfolio. This would be a good piece to show. Not, this will communicate best with my clients' customers and help my customer grow. That's the big thing you need to think about. And that's where a lot of designers are starting to fail, is they're trying to make big portfolio pieces instead of, what are my clients' customers and how do I communicate with them? But I think that's going to do it for this one, guys. Just wanted to get another podcast out with you. Been getting out these weekly lately. Sometimes I'm just walking my dog. Sometimes I'm making coffee like right now. Just want to get a podcast out to you, and I'll see you guys next one. But first, question of the day. If you're on Anchor, you can call in. Doesn't matter. If you're on YouTube, just leave a comment on the comment section, or wherever you find this, just leave a comment or call in if you're on Anchor. Do you think pen and paper is dead? Do you think that thumbnailing should not be used as a designer? Or do you think you should just jump into the computer and start working? Hope this one helped you guys. Wherever you're listening to this, thank you for listening. I hope you learned something good today. If you have any feedback on the podcast, I'd be glad to hear it. Always open to suggestions, trying to make this a better podcast for you guys, because at the end of the day, it's to help you, not me. I mean, I enjoy doing it. It's for you guys to get the best bang for your buck, to become better designers. Because as a community of designers, we need to help each other grow, not hurt each other. We need to stop competing with each other and help build each other up. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. See you guys next one. Bye.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.